Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors. This is my podcast and YouTube channel, helping other people to evolve. Today, I almost forgot the name of my own podcast, Luke. Today, I have Luke with me. How are you tonight, Luke?
Oh, I'm great, Tammy. It's a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for letting me be on your program.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on here. And you're in Idaho, you said?
That's right. Yep,
Okay,
Twin Falls, Idaho.
how's the weather been up there?
It's normally supposed to be cold and snowy. It's January, but I tell you what, it's been 50 degrees and
Oh, nice.
nice weather. And we're lucky because over the holidays, I've been like remodeling some bathrooms, right? So you had to go outside and clean buckets and stuff. So, now we're all done. So now it
Oh,
can snow.
good. Oh, good. Now it can snow and get
Yeah.
cold. Right, right. So, for those of you that this is your first time tuning into Hope, my mission and vision with Hope was just to help other people know that they don't struggle alone. I feel like, especially since 2020, there's so many people that are at home. They feel like they're all alone in their struggles. And I like to share stories of hope. I like to share stories, and it might not be like your story, but it's a story that will be able to inspire you to keep going, for you to get up off your bed, off your couch, whatever, open your door, take a deep breath, and just know you can get through anything. And Luke reached out to me, and I'm super excited to hear all about your sleep in heavenly peace. I can't wait to hear how you started it, what made you start it, what makes you keep going. So we're just going to let you go ahead and share with us.
You bet. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for having me on. When I found your podcast, I mean, Hope, what a beautiful name, number one. Hope is synonymous with faith. And to have both of those just brings light into people's hearts and souls and brings passion to people. And especially when, life's not fun when you don't have it. And so, thank you for having your podcast and inspiring. And that's what I do nowadays as a living. It's the greatest job ever, just sharing my story and hopefully inspiring people to, get off the couch, follow their tiny moments, and you just never know what happens. And my story. I always start off letting everybody know, listen, I'm a farm kid from Idaho. Like I have no business running a nonprofit. I got no business starting one, but that's what ended up happening. And I hope people take that in the light that I want to people to take it is anybody can make a difference in the world. You
Yeah.
don't have to be rich or you don't have to be an influencer. You don't have to, you don't have to have a big following. It can come. These tiny moments can come in instances, in tiny moments, and when we react to them and actually take the courage to follow them, you just never know what happens. And that's what happened with me. A little bit about me. I grew up in a small town of Kimberly, Idaho, about 4,000 people, so pretty small. And the beauty about living in a small town is you get to know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The bad side about that is everybody gets to know you. You know everybody about everybody, and they know your business and you know theirs. But the beauty behind that, one of the great blessings of having such a tight community is you care for one another and you reach out and you help and so I think my small community, along with my mom's influence, really developed a joy for service and doing things with other people. I'm a hunterman, fisherman. I do all that kind of stuff, but I only do it when I got a partner with me. I don't like to do stuff alone, and I think that sense of community, that sense of getting along with people, developed in me from such a small community. And why that's important, obviously, is as I tell my story about how Sleep and Heavenly Peace started. I went to church. I grew up in faith, and played a lot of roles, a lot of positions in the church, mostly in the youth. I'm a coach. If that doesn't shock everybody, I love football, and when you're from a small town, if you can pick up any shape of a ball and throw it in the right direction,
Right.
you're going to play sports. So you just
It's
have no
true.
choice. I remember, when I played them all, basketball, football, baseball. I wanted to wrestle, but they wouldn't let me. I wanted to play golf. They wouldn't let me. I had to run track. I mean, it was just, it was a fun time. And that experience of playing sports and the competitiveness I enjoyed. It helped me in my career as an outside salesman. I was able to, meet people and share, products that I was selling, as well as, most importantly, get to know people. And I think that all developed, being from a small town and, coaching and learning how to communicate with people. It was really important. And it developed some skills that I share and have today. But in this church service of mine, the calling at the time, what's called a calling or a position, was called a young men's president. And
Okay.
so in the South, Tammy, that would be considered like a youth pastor, although
Okay.
I don't consider myself a youth pastor. I don't have those credentials. But I loved working with youth and especially the young men. Like I said, I was a football coach and I just related to these young men. And so I was responsible for the spiritual growth as well as the activity, of the week for these young men, ages about 12 to, 17.
Okay.
So the activity, the arm of the church at the time was Boy Scouts. And so I was kind of like the leader of the leader of the Boy Scouts, right? I'd sit in the meetings and then, communicate with the other leaders, sometimes do projects with them. Well, if any of your audience has been a Boy Scout leader or worked with young men, they know that and now in these day and ages, it's hard to find an activity that doesn't involve a screen that they're going to enjoy.
Right.
And so we always sat in meetings. Okay, what are we going to do now? We'll play sports, but we're supposed to be teaching them camping and all these other things that it was hard to get them excited about. So when I was sitting in a meeting and in a church meeting with all the other auxiliary leaders, and they were talking about projects that was going on and families that we were helping. And it was just start of Christmas time. It was first part of December. And one family came up as we talked about, and the church was helping them with food and rent and all this stuff. Well, they mentioned how their kids didn't have any beds,
So,
and I don't know, it kind of like passed everybody, and maybe they had heard it. I hadn't heard it before, but it hit me, Tammy, like a ton of bricks. I said, "Wait a minute, wait, they don't have any like what are they sleeping on, right?"
right. Right.
And sure enough, yeah, they were sleeping on the floor. And I instantly thought of my own kids. I had a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, and just a new 1-year-old. And so, the thought of my kids sleeping on the floor day in and day out, or any kid, it just didn't sit well with me. And for whatever reason, it just hit so hard. I remember thinking two things. Number one, that ain't gonna happen in my town. And
Right.
here is a great opportunity that I can get my Boy Scouts and do a project with them that is fun, meaningful, and I think they can get behind. And that's we can build them a bed. Now, I've never built a piece of furniture before in my life at the time. This is 2012. This is like 14 years ago. But I did, I wasn't a stranger to tools. The sad thing is I actually had to use my wife's tools. Don't tell anybody that.
We'll
But
bleep that out. Bleep.
yeah, edit that out. But I just wanted to have an opportunity to get an Xbox controller out of these boys' hands, right? And put a drill and a sander in it and teach them something of value and let alone letting them feel the joy of service as
Yes.
well as helping them understand and appreciate the things that they have, like their very own bed.
Yeah.
And so I went home after that meeting and started measuring my daughter's bunk bed. She had one um and made a few changes to make it easier for the boys. And then they came over that week and for a couple of nights we built this bunk bed. And I tell you what, it was so much fun. I was a little nervous that these kids weren't going to be excited about doing this project, but man, I was happily surprised that they just got behind it. They were super excited and so we finished this bed. And the sad part, the funny part, sad part, whatever, is I didn't get to go on the delivery because I was in my garage. It was,
Oh,
the beginning of December, snow on the ground. It was cold, and I had to, park my cars. And so I stayed back and cleaned my garage and let the boys and their parents and the leaders deliver this bed to this family. And super jealous. Like the next day, they just talked about how amazing it was. These kids were and the conditions that they were sleeping in, and then the joy of seeing their faces when they start putting this bed together, and the appreciation that the family had. boy, I felt like I missed out, right?
Yeah.
But the point, I mean, the mission for me was to provide a service for these young men and have them enjoy the fruits of serving and whatnot.
Sure.
And so, then the project was done. The next day at church, they told me how amazing it was. I went home and I was grateful to have that experience. And kind of like a little behind the scenes story for me personally, I was about 35 and,
Uh-huh.
people say you go through a midlife crisis. And I don't know if if that was my case. I just know on paper, Tammy, I had a great life. I had a great job. I was, in church, had a family, was coaching. I was doing all the things that I knew I was supposed to do. There was just something missing, right? And I think a lot of people feel this. They feel like, especially nowadays, there's so many great things happening in the world, and there's negative stuff as well, but we want to make a difference. We
Right.
want to feel like we're contributing to society. At least I wanted to feel that way. And
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like I was doing that. I
Uh,
loved helping people and I just didn't feel like I was doing enough. And then lo and behold, this project come and fell in my lap and it just filled that gaping hole in my heart instantly.
that.
It was just awesome. And then when it was over, I could just feel me just fall back down into this pit. And I remember I was sitting on the couch. Oh, I don't know, it was about a week later, and we were watching Big Bang Theory with my kids and just our nightly routine, and a commercial came on, and it was some Xbox controller game. I don't know. It was something about a video game, and I just knew it was the beginning of the holiday season. I knew my kids. I could read it on their face. Hey, Dad, can we have this Xbox game? And I don't know. It just Tammy, it just hit me right. I just did this service project, filled my
Mhm.
soul for kids that didn't have any beds. And my kids want another video game. I mean,
Mhm.
and I remember thinking, here I am trying to be a good dad and trying to teach my kids the right thing. And I thought to myself, I could tell them, I can show them pictures, I can talk about how amazing an experience like that was. Or I can get my butt off the couch. I can go out in the garage. I had some leftover wood, and I can have them come with me. And so that's what I did. I remember it's just a tiny little moment, and I thought I can do this. I jumped up off the couch and went straight out to the garage. And I remember my kids were like, "Dad, where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going to build another bed, and you're going to help me." So
So, question real quick.
go ahead.
Did they help with the first ones?
They did not. No, it
Okay.
was all my Boy Scouts, right?
Okay.
And it was kind of nice because they're a little older, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to figure this out on my own. But now I had at least a little bit of a knowledge of how we could put this together. So I was
Right.
really excited for my kids to come. I mean, I got pictures of my daughter, 6 years old, in her tutu,
Aw.
drilling boards together, and my son in his favorite Boise State jersey, hammering away. And we just had a great time. And the funny thing about it is we were doing it. I had no idea that child bedlessness was a problem.
Right.
I didn't know this even existed.
I
We
didn't
just,
either. So
well, no one does.
you.
Yeah, this is the problem. No one knows that child bedlessness, not a real word, but a real problem. It actually represents greater than 3% of the total population on average of any given town. So if you're in a
Wow.
town of 100,000 people, there are 3,000 kids right now that don't have a bed. They're sleeping on the floor with brother and sister, with mom and dad, or some air mattress that we all know how that ends up, right?
Right. Oh yeah. I slept
And-
on one when I moved to Texas for a while. So
ugh,
they are not any good.
not
Let
any
me
good.
tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I
Somehow
actually, not to
they
really
do.
change it, but I have friends coming to visit and the little boy fits, he's 8. And I was like, oh, well, he'll be able to sleep on the air mattress. I was like, that is mean. Don't make that boy do that.
Well, and to do it day in and day out,
Right. Right.
that's what you realize it, and it's a really, and the biggest issue is no one knows about it. I mean,
Right.
I didn't know about it, and this is 14 years ago, and so we built this bed with my kids. What do you do with it? Like I
Right.
wanted them to feel the joy of service, and I wanted them to appreciate the things that they had, like their own bed, over a video game.
Mhm.
But now I had this bed, I didn't know what to do with it, and someone recommended, hey, put it on Facebook, buy, sell, trade, one of those groups, and you'll find someone. And I'm like, yeah, you think a free bed on one of those sites, I'm gonna get every Tom, Dick, and Harry that wants a free
Sure.
bed.
Sure.
And although we got some of that, a magical thing happened, Tammy. I started getting these messages from friends I knew to people I had no idea who they were, share stories of kids that they knew or families that were struggling. That, there was a story of a family, 8 people in this family all lived in a van. I mean,
Oh,
really in this day and age, and they just got an apartment, but there was no beds. I mean, all these things were just popping up in my feed here, just blew me away. And then another amazing thing happened was all of my friends and even people I didn't know started saying, Luke, hey, how can I help? Really, there's
oh,
kids sleeping on the floor, and they could read the comments too. So they're like, oh my gosh, can I bring a mattress? Can I bring some pillows? It was really a truly amazing thing to see just unfold with no idea that it was going to happen that way. But for me, where the rubber really hit the road was a friend of mine knew of a family who had a little girl named Haley, and this is my Haley story.
okay.
So Haley was a 6-year-old girl, never slept on a bed. She slept in the backseat of her mom's car
Hmm.
since she was born. Other than a couch dive once in a while here and
Sure,
there, right?
sure.
And they had just this friend of mine just helped them get a house for the first time. So I was super excited. This is exactly what I was looking for my kids, to be able to deliver this bed to a child that needed it badly. And
Yes.
so we were excited to go out there. And so, we went out and met Haley. And I had seen poverty before. I'd seen homelessness and all this, but I never really saw it through the eyes of a 6-year-old. And that really was a different perspective for me to walk in. And number one, there was nothing in the house. So, I mean, it was empty, no couch or TV or kitchen table or anything. There was one of those milk crates,
Oh, yeah.
it had a hot plate on it with a can of soup on it, and that was dinner, and that was it. I mean, it just blew me away. And little Haley, this 6-year-old girl, she's just happy as a lark.
Oh,
She got a little house now. She's not in the back of a car, for crying out
right.
loud. In the middle of December, by the way.
Oh,
And so I was like, so, hey, show me where your room. Show me your room. And so she pulled us back in her room, and I mean, you can imagine it was
mm,
holes in the carpet, and there's no door on the closet, and there's used toys and things that she had collected or were given. But what got me the most was in the corner of her room was a pile of clothes, just a nest of clothes, and I knew it instantly that's where Haley was
it's
sleeping.
sleepy. Yeah.
Yeah. She'd come home from school. She'd take her school clothes off, put her PJs on, sleep on our school clothes, and then put them on in the morning and go to school. I mean, it broke my heart. In fact,
Yeah.
I tell people at first I was kind of mad. I mean, you almost get upset. Like, how is this going on in my neighborhood?
Mhm.
And then I instantly got excited because we were there, and she didn't know why, but we were there, and we started bringing in pieces of the bed and started putting it together. And you could see Haley is trying to figure it out. And as soon as she realized that this was a bed, she just erupted. I mean, came over and hugged us, just complete strangers. These strange guys hugged us, hugged the bed, even kissed the bed. It was magical. And if that wasn't enough just to rip your heart out, right?
Right.
Then you look at this single mom, and I was raised by a single mom too, so I knew what every single one of those tears pouring down her face meant, for years of struggle trying to just provide food and clothing and shelter, let alone, I mean, beds at this point was just a luxury, it's just a dream. And
Right.
how sad is that?
Yeah.
I was on a podcast with Mike Rowe, and he said, Luke, you talk about helping these kids out, helping Haley out. She had a room. She didn't have a bedroom because there was no bed in it.
Right.
And that's really meaningful. That's impactful when you think about these kids that they have a room. It's no different than any, living room or playroom because there's no bed in it.
Right.
It only becomes a bedroom when there's a bed in it. And
That is-
and that's
oh,
significant,
yeah.
right?
Very significant.
Right. And so we were so excited to share this bed and give this bed to her. In fact, on the way home, me and my buddy Jordan, who helped me deliver it, we really didn't say much to it. I mean, it was just so overwhelming.
Yes.
And I mean, I tell everybody, listen, I'm a farm kid from Idaho. I love to hunt. I love to fish. I love to play football and sports and college football on Saturdays. I mean, that's just what you did, right?
Right.
And in an instant, Tammy, none of that mattered anymore. It
Mm,
just didn't have the weight of thinking about, you know what, for a couple of hours, for a couple of days that week, building a bed to solve that problem. that
Mm,
is well worth my time, you know,
yeah.
and it just filled that hole that was in my heart. And so I remember by the time we got home, we lived about a half hour away from little Haley. I remember I looked over to Jordan. I said, you know what? No kid is going to sleep on the floor in my town if I have anything to do with it.
Mm.
And so that's what we ended up doing. That Christmas season, we built and delivered 21 beds before Santa showed up.
Oh,
And
my
I,
goodness.
I tell you what, most of the time that was the only present that these kids got. And it was just magical just to see
I'm
these
sure it
these
was
kids.
probably everything to them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you could get a doll and you can get this, a truck and an Xbox, but to have your own bed if they're not having one,
Yeah.
wow. What is
Well,
that?
and also, when I looked up and saw this mom, and the conditions, and I could read her face,
Mm,
I instantly knew, you know what, this is far more than just a bed. It's far more than just a good night's sleep. I mean, this is bringing and restoring families and bringing people together and bringing dignity and value and showing these little kids that they
mm,
mean things. They mean something in
yeah.
life. And there's people that they have no idea who they are that love them and care for them and want to provide a nice life and give them a leg up for them. And that's what SHP does for us. In fact, when we got home, I remember my wife at the time says, well, you got to call it something like your little project here. And I said, don't worry, I've got the best name, Beds for Babes. And I don't think she
He
said
said
no
no.
fast enough.
He's like, no, it's not. That's
No,
not
it's
the
not.
name,
I
boo.
said, I said, well, what do you call it then? And she says, well, Christmas time and Silent Night, sleep in heavenly peace. Just it emanated exactly
Ooh,
what we wanted to provide for these kids is a night of heavenly sleep. And whether you're religious or not, the symbolism behind this time of year, and providing a bed for a child that didn't have one means a lot. And that's what we wanted to provide. So now we've grown. Well, let me first say, the more that we shared what we were doing, right? And the more pictures and things that we posted, the more we heard about more kids and more kids and more kids. And it just was like became a pandemic, to be honest with you. There were so many um people and so many families and these situations the kids were sleeping in. I just couldn't build beds fast enough, right? So we doubled every year. The next year we built 51, and the year after that, we built 75. And other friends of ours from different parts of the state or even different parts of the country saw what we did and wanted to help. And we ended up, hey, how about you start, I don't know, a chapter? And we became a nonprofit and just slowly started to grow to in 2018, we had about 7 chapters in 5 states. But something significant happened, and that's when our friend Mike Rowe, everybody loves Mike Rowe, right? He was the host of a Facebook watch series called Returning the Favor. It's now kind of changed names to People You Should Know. Um, you can see that on YouTube, um, but we were aired, or actually filmed and aired in the February of 2018, and
okay.
it was viewed by 10 million people. And the
Wow.
beauty of that is we started getting applications for new chapters all over the place, even in other countries. And I'm happy to say now, 8 years later, well, what is it? 2020, 26, it was 8 years later. We've now grown to well over 400 chapters. We're in 4 countries. And in 2025, we broke a record. We'll break records every year, but we built almost 90,000 beds.
Oh my goodness. That is amazing.
Well, we have amazing people, and some of the, and I could talk all night about how amazing Sleeping on the Pieces is for the volunteers. I didn't know or didn't expect that Sleeping on the Peace would not only provide beds for kids, but I would have an opportunity to meet some of the greatest people on the planet. And there are millions of them out there. I found out that people really want to help. They just don't know how,
Yeah.
and lucky enough, we provide an opportunity for people to really feel like uh, they're contributing and have that fulfilling feelings that come when you actually work hard for someone else. So and the way we work is we look for companies or individuals that want to do build days, and we organize build days where we actually take raw lumber and we get it from our number one sponsor, Lowe's Home Improvement. We take raw lumber in 2x4s and 2x6s. We ship them to wherever we want to do the build because we're mobile, and we have what we call a train of tools. It's basically like an assembly line of how we build these beds, and we teach volunteers how to use tools, and they actually build beds. We, as Sleep and Heavnly Peace volunteers, at least core team members, we really don't build anything. We teach the community to do so because we feel like, and I know this problem was not going to be solved by some farm kid from Idaho. We needed to provide a platform for people in their own community to solve this problem. That's the reason why, Tammy, we can build so many beds, is because there's so many amazing people out there that are looking for ways to give back. They just didn't know how, and we provide an opportunity for them to do so.
Yeah. Now, are you the only like nonprofit that does this?
So great question. In about 2014, we had had two builds because we just did them at Christmas time. Keep in mind, it was just a family Christmas project. This
Right,
was
right,
not anything going to be. And I remember I had a couple of companies reach out and say, "Hey, we'd like to sponsor you. Are you a charity?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." I don't even know I don't know how to start one.
right.
And I remember they said you need to because we'd like to donate and be a part of this. And so that sent me down the road of becoming a charity. I didn't really want to, but I saw the writing on the wall. I couldn't finance this myself anymore, and we wanted to include this, and there was just more and more kids popping up that needed our help. So we became a nonprofit. Well, I didn't know anything about a nonprofit. I didn't know who else was doing this, so I went to the internet and started searching. I I looked forever and only found one other charity in 2014 that were building beds for kids called Beds for Kids in Charlotte. And I know that because I was kind of jealous of the name. That's a great name.
Yeah.
Um, but they were the only charity. Now there was a couple of churches here and there that would do these little projects once in a while, but there was no charity that was doing it. And the other thing that I learned too, as I started sharing what we did on Facebook and things of that nature, I would get called from CASA, CPS, Child Protective Services,
Right.
CPS, and other or foster care situations, other organizations that were working with children and families, and they were like, "Listen, Luke, you don't understand. There's nobody that's doing this right now. And beds for kids is, if not the number one, it's in the top three hardest things for us to get. We typically have to buy it." And
Mm,
and so it was kind of one of those things where you fell into a niche. I fell into a niche that it wasn't happening anywhere. No one was doing this.
yeah,
And so that just fueled the fire for us, right? I
yeah.
just knew we had to do more. And now, there's been a couple of people that have started their own charities off of Sleep and Heavenly Peace,
Mm,
and there's a couple other charities now popped up. I only know of about five or six nationwide. But they deliver about 1,000, maybe 2,000 beds a year. We're the largest bed building charity in the world, only because there's just not very many, which is a sad thing because no one knows about it. And
right, right. Well, the reason why I asked that is because I don't know what year it was, but we did this in Toledo. We built
yep,
that. And it was the same thing like you were talking about. Like somebody came and trained us and we volunteered and we made all these beds and we loaded them up. I have no idea what charity it was. It might have been yours. I don't know,
yep.
you
So there
know?
in Toledo, I can tell you exactly who it is.
Really?
Yeah, we had a chapter president down there who started a chapter of Sleep and Heavenly Peace, and then they broke away and started their own thing called Let's Build, and amongst others that are kind of around that area.
Okay.
But we have there's been a number of chapters that have started their own charities, and they build beds for kids, which is great.
Right.
There's not enough of us out there to help the demand. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad to say we've inspired people to follow the same passion that we have with helping children, get a bed.
That is just absolutely amazing. I love the whole story is just like,
Oh,
and for those people that follow me in that, they know that my belief is God 100%. I always tell people, whatever you believe, but my faith is in God. And
I couldn't
the
tell
whole
from the background.
from the back, yeah. I know. Sometimes I'm on a Zoom and people are like, "Oh, I better watch what I say." God's watching. I'm like, He's watching anyway,
He's
so it's
watching anyways.
okay. But it's just like the whole how it all. And so I'm a big believer that God always plants the seeds. You know, when you were sitting in that room with all those people and they're talking about giving these gifts and doing these things, and then in your what you heard in your head was they don't have a bed to sleep on.
Right,
Like
right.
that was what God planted in your mind. Like that was your like, okay, here we go. This is going
Right.
to be your thing, Luke. And then when you talked about like you all built the bed and stuff, and then they delivered it, and then there you were like, oh, I missed out on that,
Yeah.
right? And that empty feeling, and I can that empty feeling that I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Like you go do something, right? you do it, you get it done, it's accomplished, it's done, and then you sit and you're like, okay, now what? Like I did that, but now
Yeah.
what? And I'm just so thankful for you to
Oh,
be like, I'm gonna have my kids help build this bed, and then
what
the way and then meet little Haley and just watch that in her and
Tammy, I do a lot of public speaking. My keynote speak is basically that. Listen, we're all busy human beings, right? And we all have things going on in our lives that when we have these tiny moments that come into our head, we dismiss them way too easily, right? We're too busy, or I can't do that, or I don't know how to do that, or that someone else can solve that, right? The
yeah.
sad thing here is, and whether you're religious or not religious, wherever those thoughts come from, I'm telling your audience right now, listen, you have to listen to them. Now, you might not end up starting a big, huge charity, but what you will do is not only help someone else, but you're going to help yourself.
Mhm.
If anything, it's finding true joy. In my opinion, true joy comes from when you stop looking at yourself and you start looking for ways to help other people. Your
Mhm.
problems don't go away. They really don't.
Right.
But I promise you one thing, they don't seem near as heavy,
Mhm.
and we all have problems. We all deal with them
Sure.
every day, whether
Sure.
you're rich or poor. Um, it's just working around them and getting through the motions and the feelings that come from these issues. They're going to be solved. We're all going to get through them.
Sure.
It's just how do we feel during those times? And when you stop thinking about yourself and you start thinking about ways you can help other people, whether it's kids with beds or the ocean or dogs or whatever
Mhm.
your passion is, when you start following that, um, that's when true joy happens,
Yeah.
and I promise you, things are happening behind the scenes or after you're done or whatever that you don't know about.
Mm,
And I will make one other promise. If you don't do anything, nothing will happen.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
so what does it hurt? What does it hurt to take a little extra time out of your day to, I don't know, mow your neighbor's lawn
Yeah.
or do something that is meaningful for someone else. And
Mm,
the dividends that you get paid in return are so much more than the effort you put in.
mm.
And I encourage everybody, my purpose for being on your podcast, again, thank you so much, Tammy, for having me on, is really to raise first, number one, A, B, whatever. I just
Whichever.
went through the gamut there.
Yep.
It's late, by the way. It's like 8 o'clock and past
Right.
my bedtime here. Is listen, I want everybody, if you can do one thing for me, is just raise awareness. Let people know child bedlessness is not a real word, but it's a real problem. And it exists right next door. It doesn't know economics, it doesn't know cultures, it doesn't know ethnicities. It only knows issues and problems that arise sometimes out of people's control. And these are little humans that are in these situations, not because of their choices, right? It's because of situations or bad choices from other people.
Right. Right.
And you can help, even if it's just to raise your voice and let people know. The more that people know about it, and the more that people know about Sleep in Heavenly Peace, the more they can get involved. Just like you sharing my story with your audience, or your audience members sharing it with a loved one. I can't tell you how many stories and many chapters have started from someone said, "Oh, my friend, I saw a post that they went and did this bed build thing. And the minute I looked into it, I wanted to start a chapter. And now thousands of kids in their hometown have received a bed from this one person listening to another person's story.
Yeah.
So raise awareness. And if you want to learn more about Sleep and Heavnly Peace, right, you can go to our website, shpbeds.org. Sleep and Heavnly Peace, shpbeds.org. And there's a bunch of ways you can volunteer at your local chapter. Of course, you can donate. And the beauty about our donations, listen, I'm a farm kid from Idaho. I didn't want to start a nonprofit that you donate your money and it goes to some pie in the sky and you never know where it goes and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No, 90 cents of your dollar, 90% of what you donate to whatever chapter you decide to donate to stays in that community, and the
Mm.
beds stay in that community. Again, this is a community problem. And so if you're going to donate money to Sleeping Heavenly Peace to your own chapter locally, it stays there. We only take 10% because I got to turn the lights on and pay for
Oh, sure.
insurance.
For sure. Sure.
You know,
I did notice when and I will put your link in the whole post and everything like that.
perfect.
But I also did notice when I clicked on your link, it told me how many beds were needed, like in the area that I'm in. Yeah,
Correct. Yep.
it said like I forget how many now, but I was like, oh, well, that's interesting because I didn't really know anything that was going on yet. But
Correct.
oh,
The way we did that, it used to go to like a main web page, right? And we have that, but we felt it's super important and make it more localized
yeah,
for the volunteers. So and thank you for bringing that up. Not a lot of people understand that. So when you go to shpbeds.org, you're not going to go to my website.
right.
You're going to go to the chapter that is in your area, or at least the closest chapter to you. You're going to go to their website and you're
Mm,
going to see events that they've done. You're going to see how many kids are waiting on their applications. Some of them are as small as, 20, 30 kids, which is still huge. Some of
right.
them are 5,000.
Jeez.
So,
Wow.
it really depends on the point is there's kids always, and that list, it might be 41 right now, and they go deliver 20 beds, and the next day it'll be 50. It's
Right.
just the more we deliver, the more we find and uncover these this dilemma that we're dealing with these
Wow.
kids. And so, anyways, you can go to our website, you can learn about what's going on locally, and if you don't have a chapter close by you, and if this is something that's really, pounding at your heart and you want to be involved, you can start a chapter. That's the whole reason why we wanted to do Sleep in Heavenly Peace as kind of a platform and a template, because we know people, you don't have to have any experience. This guy didn't, right? And I promise you, if
Right.
this guy can do it,
And
anybody can. We train you. We actually fly you out to Utah and teach you how to run a chapter. And the beauty of it, as a chapter president, we only ask you to focus on three things: raising money, which is actually that's the biggest and the scariest thing for people to do, Tammy. But
mhm.
in our organization, and I will only speak for our charity, it is the easiest thing you'll ever do.
Mm.
You will not have a hard time raising money when you ask people to help build beds for kids.
Build better
Trust me.
kids. Right. Right.
The second thing is building beds, right? We teach you how to build beds. We teach you the process. It's super easy. And I mean, we have chapter presidents that come that have never touched a tool in their life, and now they are experts, right? They're working a 60 volunteer crew of building beds. It's super fun to watch. And of course, the last thing, which is the best part, is delivering the beds, right? So those raise money, build, and deliver beds is really the three things we train on. All the minutia of taxes and insurance
Right.
and all this stuff.
Right.
We handle that for the chapter
Oh,
presidents, right? So we make it as about as easy as we can. I mean, it's still work, but we
sure.
make it as easy as you can. So those are the things that I just ask your audience to think about is,
Yeah.
if this really touches your heart, share it. Share it with people. Donate if you can. And if you really want to dive in and you don't have a chapter close by, you can start one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. I really, really appreciate you coming on here and reaching out.
Oh,
This is fabulous. It just, my whole heart is just like so full. I just think it's
oh, thank you.
done. And just like you said, anybody can do anything, right? I mean, like I said, a boy from Idaho, right? From a small town, 4,000 people, and here you are,
Correct.
and that's just amazing. And to have your heart and passion and your wife and your family too. I mean, it's just
Mm,
like what a thing to be grateful for. So
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And like I said, I'll put your website in the, in the comments and we'll get that all going.
Awesome.
Anybody, if you're looking for it, let's look in the McKinney area and see what we got going on here in Texas or wherever you're at and click on that link and see what you can do to help. Because, one little bit of help can be an amazing difference. So,
It is. And if you want to, you can find me on all my social medias. I'm just Luke Mickelson or SHP Luke.
okay.
I post daily of different chapters and inspirational stories that I hear from other chapters. And you really get to start seeing the conditions and the pictures and the videos of these kids and the build days and the volunteers. And you hear all these great stories. It really is something that can inspire someone that's looking for ways to give back and ways to improve their own lives. So
Yes, yes. And it's when you talked about like, what's your little quotation that you said?
no kid sleeps on the floor in our town.
Yeah, that part. But I mean, it's not a word, but
Oh, child bedlessness. Not a
right,
word, not a real word, but a real problem.
right. And so I was telling someone that you were going to be on my podcast, and they're like, they do what? So that's the thing. Like people are like not even aware that there's children out there that have no beds. So
Mo Tammy, most people have no idea.
yeah, not
Really,
at all.
most people don't. And trust me, I challenge any of your audience members, go call a school counselor. Go call CASA or Child Protective Services. Ask them, is child bedlessness a real problem? They're going
Yeah.
to find out real quick how big the problem really is.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for enlightening us in that. I'm just super excited to get this out to my audience. So
Thanks for having me on.
thank you. And so everybody, thank you for tuning in on Hope. Like I said, we're on YouTube. Tammy Lynn Connors. Hope is H period O period P period E period. Helping other people evolve on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. Share this story. Get it out there. We need more beds. We've got to work on getting more beds. That's my goal
Amen.
right now. So Luke, I really appreciate you getting on here, and I hope everybody has a fantastic day, night, whatever time it is. I'm trying to find my button, sorry. And we're gonna be done.